to our monthly mastermind. This happens every third Thursday, unless there's a holiday, at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And today we are honored to have our head real estate coach for Next Level Coaching, head coach, there we go, Miss Marjorie Adam. Marjorie is one of the top real estate agents in the country, and if you've ever seen her speak or seen her on stage at one of the events, you will find out real quickly why these rooms are always full and why she is a top speaker all over the country. Marjorie, without any more buttering up, I'm going to let you take over, and thank you. We are honored to have you speaking today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys for coming. Look, it's summer and you're here and you're working and you're loving it, aren't you? Isn't it fun? It's a fun market right now. But we're going to get into a changing market. We're going to start the slides in a second, but I wanted to share something. We started our coaching calls yesterday for our new semester, and there are a lot of people struggling, right? Struggling with things they need to accomplish, feeling like they're behind, just all kinds of things. And so I was getting emails from students like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get this done. I'm failing or whatever. And I just really want, if there's one thing we could also talk about and start and then move on, is I really want you guys to listen to how you're talking to yourselves. And how you're kind of showing up, because I have a lot of people emailing and, again, excuses are fine. They have things going on in their lives, but there just is a lot of like anxiety and everything right now. So I want people to just kind of take a step back, see what you've got to really be working on, prioritize, but give yourself a break. I think it's already been like the longest year ever. A lot has happened. We all work really hard. The market's harder. And again, I talked to people yesterday, and a lot of it was just, hey, let's just break things down. Let's not make everything so overwhelming. Let's take one thing at a time. So as we're going to get into this, there's a lot of people struggling now. So if you are, reach out, but understand like this too shall pass. We're going to get through this. And there's a lot of great things and opportunities that we got to pay attention to. So, all right. So Rebecca, who's the best on earth, will you pop up the slideshow, however that magic happens? Yay. Okay, here we go. All right, so changing market, changing strategy. I really wanted to focus on that. There's a lot of scripts and everything in here. We're going to go through them, but I really want us to pay attention to what we're learning, what we're sharing, how we're talking to our clients. This is all super important right now because as the market's shifting, I think a lot of people are confused. And we need to be changing how we're presenting things, how we're talking to people, but also really, really digging into those changes so we can explain them. So, okay, Rebecca, next slide. Okay, so I had this mastermind with realtors in my area in person a few days ago. And a lot of frustration, right? Like, obviously, it's great when homes fly off the shelf and they sell in 3 days, and, really it's multiple offers. Isn't that great? And, people are having straight pricing issues. Like, gosh, it's something sold 3 weeks ago and the market's already different than it was. And I can't get buyers off the fence. I've got buyers in the car and they won't seem to make a decision. So, obviously, we're all experiencing this. If you're not, feel free to put it in the chat. But there's a lot of this, right? Like, not knowing how to communicate with people. But I think a lot of it is we're not always really sitting with them and explaining how things are right now, not how things were, because everyone thinks it's 3 years ago. But this is what I'm seeing. And people came into the office and it was, need to kind of find a listing. They couldn't get, not enough listings. They were confused on proper pricing, understanding the micro markets. We don't just have one major market, right? You have a townhouse market, different price points market, buyers having no urgency. They were really frustrated with seller expectations. So a lot of frustrations, right? So this is really what we're hearing right now. All right, Rebecca, we'll go to the next one. So I wanted to kind of really look at, this is going to be some info from my local market, but market info that I think you guys need to be able to rattle off just from your head, right? Like when people are asking about the market and things. So when I did this the other day, I said, hey, how many of you guys know in June, how many homes sold under the asking price? And not one person could answer it. It's like, Well, if you're going to explain a changing market to your clients, to your sellers, to your buyers, and why they have to price more aggressively and why things are different, you've got to know some stats, right? So know our local stats. Know that it ain't April. In our case, it was more February. Know the buyers are taking more time and how do we have to consult them, right? And understand the days on the market. So, okay, Rebecca, next one. Okay. So this is kind of how I think a lot of us are right now, huh? Right? Like there's a lot of in the market. And I laughed because when people were talking even just a few days ago, they're like, well, we just have to explain that we're entering a normalizing market. And I was like, awesome. What does that mean? And everyone was like, that was the face. See her right there? Huh? I was like, so if we're going to walk around and be like, it's just a normalizing market, well, then you got to be able to explain what that means, right? You have to know more than they do, right? And so when they ask you all, it's true, right? It's a normalizing market. That's kind of the dumbest thing I've ever heard because I've done this 30 years and I don't know what a normal market. I understand a balanced market, right? We understand inventory and 6 months of inventory and a balanced market, but a normalizing market, okay. So we have to be able to answer questions and we can't say, well, the sellers are just confused. They're confused. All right, well, then we need to educate them. So let's go over some stats I think you need to know. So, Rebecca, let's go to the next one. So, local market stats. This is a lot of words, but these are things that if I'm going to sit down with a client, right, I need to be able to explain why I have to be more aggressive on their price. I have to explain what's the real appreciation right now? What are the average days on the market and how are they growing and what does that mean to them? Right? The longer they sit on the market. Because as you know, most sellers, especially, they always, well, I'm not in a hurry. Well, yes, you are. You sure are in a hurry because if your house is in the market in 60 or 90 days, it ain't pretty, right? So you're in a hurry and that I need to get you under contract. So I need you to think about. So if I'm sitting with a client and they're like, well, I'm going to overprice this house and I'll get multiple offers, I need to tell them, well, your average is about 57 days on the market and about 50% of homes are selling right below asking price. 50%, right? So what does that mean? And then you have to interpret that data. But if you're just going to say it's a changed market, it's changing, it's normalizing, I need you to have clarity on what that means, right? So these are some basic stats, very easy for you to find. You can find them in your MLS. You can ask ChatGPT. You can study them. Actually, the 57 days on the market and the 40 days, 2 days on the market, I just checked before this started. I just changed some numbers on the screen. But again, what does it mean? Pricing accurately. We need to manage expectations. We have to understand our micro markets. When I say micro market, in our large county of, well, it's not that big, in our county of Albemarle, there's the downtown city market, right? That's very hot because the university people want to be very close to the university. There is the county market. There is properties that are over 900,000. There's a glut in the townhouse market. There are not enough single family homes, right? It's a market within a market. So you guys need to be super clear as well when you're going into these appointments. It's the overall local, not national market now, not 6 months ago, but what's their micro market? What's their neighborhood, that price point doing, right? So we have to make this clear, right? So I want you to know your local stats. I want you to be able to rattle them off as quickly as we can, most TV shows that someone should be watching right now. Or the meme that everyone knows they've seen, right? Oh, you've seen that meme with the realtor and she plays hide and seek in houses? Yeah, you all probably know that one, but I need you to know your local market stats as well. Okay, Rebecca will go to the next one. All right. So messaging, I think that's the most important. So we, of course, and buyers. Now, again, I'm in Virginia. You could be in an area where all the houses are flying off the market in 2 seconds. Understand clearly micro markets we just talked about. But most people that I'm talking to right now nationally, almost all of them, we've got more nervous buyers, meaning they're pulling back. Sometimes they're canceling. They're taking way longer to make a decision. They're being way pickier, right? So those buyers feel like they've got time. If something sits on the market for 57 days, I don't have to rush like when it was two. Then we got sellers that think, well, their house is of course better than anyone else's on earth, and it's going to sell for way over asking in 2 seconds, but they don't really want to make repairs, right? Or they've been on the market and we're seeing this drag down, right? We're seeing that stair step of prices coming down, but they don't want to drop the price, right? And so it's like, ugh. So we've got to really be working on all this. And because I have lenders and realtors on here, I want you to really, we're going to be talking about strategically how our lenders can help us with this. And I don't mean like what would be great is we could just send them to our clients' houses. I could be like, Janessa is going to tell you why you need to drop the price. She'll be there at 3. That's not what I mean. Strategically, we need to come up with some things that's not just telling someone to drop the price all the time. So that's going to be part of our messaging. All right, Rebecca, thank you. She's killing it. All right, this is where I was telling you, please don't feel like you need to write all this down. I will share a lot of this, but I need you to really think about your talking points, right? So not only the stats that we need to know, but we need to explain clearly, right? And honestly. So it's the time to be super honest. I'm not saying we shouldn't have always been honest. Of course you should have been honest. But in the crazy market of, the COVID market, we'd recommend a price. Could they go higher than that? Sure. And did it win? Yes. And then they got multiple offers. Well, that's not the market now. So we need to really help them understand that, yes, we want to get them the most amount of money, but we need to be talking about today's market. They want to talk to you about their neighbor 6 months ago or 2 years ago. And of course, their house is way better, right? And, last year it sold for X. It's like, I need you to really focus on the last 30 to 60 days. We have to focus on buyer behavior shifting and we have to demonstrate it, right? We have to show them, and there are stats that show them if you price correctly day one versus do 3 price reductions, you will sell for more. And we need to be able to take a seller mentality and put them in a buyer mentality, right? So the ones that are doing both, well, they want to, of course, get all the money in the world and get the best deal ever. That's always fun. But we need to make them understand what the buyers are thinking right now, that the buyers are having high interest rates and they're going to be super picky on condition, right? And they feel like they have more time. I need their house to be the one that wins. We need to strategically position them price point wise as well as condition wise to beat out the other competition so we don't have to stair step their price down. So you have to have your talking points, right, for the current market that you can with empathy have this conversation. Because once again, we're a little bit frustrated doing this every day, but we're not doing a great job explaining succinctly and with local and recent stats why things are changing. So I want you guys to really think about your talking points. All right, Rebecca. Okay, so I wanted to give you a few potential talking points for different things that we're working on, right? So for houses that are currently on the market, so this is where I think a lot of people are struggling as well, is let's be clear, if you're not having conversations with your sellers, it's your fault. It is. It's your fault, right? Renee, it's your fault. You priced the house. You told me what to do. It's totally your market, your fault, right? Everything's my fault, apparently, right? The rates are my fault because we need to continue to share data, right? So, okay, the market speaks quickly. We need to listen. It's true, right? Like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, 2 months ago, the market was here, right? But since the market is moving quickly, this is what's happened in the last 2 weeks, right? And the market is telling us that we're off. We're not in the right price point. We have to strategically, right, get in front of the next wave because prices aren't going to magically go up right now. So we can do these little baby price drops, but that is not going to get it done unless you are the best one on the market. Let's be clear. If you're the very best condition, very best lot, very best of everything, you can be on the higher end of a price point and it will likely sell. But if you're not, you've got to show them that. You've got to show them their competition. And then understanding repositioning the house on the market. So I'm a big fan of saying repositioning, adjusting. Of course, we're talking about dropping a price, but for them, you're telling them that their house isn't valuable, right? They don't want to hear their house isn't valuable. Their home is valuable. It's that the current market and the buyer's expectations are not meeting this price. And that's evident by either no showings or lots of showings and no offers, right? So the market speaks to you. You've got to interpret it for them. And then, of course, my favorite is the people like, we'll just price it here. And in like 5 weeks, we'll drop it to here. And I'm like, cool, your urgency's all gone, right? And the market probably has adjusted a bit since then. So we need to demonstrate, and there are statistics we can demonstrate that show them that starting high and making little adjustments, they will sell less than had they priced properly from the beginning. That's all our job, right? So we have to talk about it, but we have to demonstrate it. So I want you guys to think about like when you need to have this conversation with your clients, how are you doing it? And quite frankly, the time to start this is when you take the listing. If you've decided to overprice it, you should have a plan right then. Okay, well, I mean, I'm not a fan, but if we're going to lose our first 2 weeks at your price, not my price, your price, then in 2 weeks we need to adjust to this. Let's put it in the listing agreement. Right after I've explained to you the dangers of overpricing and whatever else it may be. Where can we find the studies to share with client? You can go through a lot of different stats in your local market, but if you Google or go on AI, it'll share you what the average can be if someone overprices to final list price. You can also go into your own MLS. This is just, I'm reading a question. You can go into your own MLS and look at original list price and final list price, and you can see like how much they came down based on price drops versus the people that sold right away upon listing that listed properly. So I would use local case studies. The more that you can show them a house in an area they know rather than just a national stat, and you can say, hey, see this one, they started here, they sold way down here, right? And because they sat on the market for this amount of time. So give them actual market data from your market most similar to them, right? Just like when your price, if you're going to list a home and there's a lot of competition right now, you either walk them literally through their competition, like we've done that plenty of times, where it's like, come look, like you got to be a buyer right now, or you at least go through all the photos and say, remodeled kitchen, remodeled bathroom, right? Fully fenced in yard. They have to see the differences. You're not insulting them, we're educating them, right? So that's the information and data that we need to share. Okay, thank you, Rebecca. All right. Now, I wanted to talk not a lot, but a little about what we're all doing. So I see every day, I don't know about you guys, and I can't see all of you. I can only see a couple of you, but almost every day right now, actually every day, multiple times, I either get an email that says either price drop or price adjustment, significant price adjustment, motivated seller, or I'm going in MLS and all I'm seeing is price reductions. Okay, now if they were dramatically overpriced, right? If you know that you took a listing and you're beating yourself up about it, maybe you should, because you way overpriced it, but you just really wanted that listing, you wanted to break in the neighborhood or whatever. If you know you are dramatically over what the current market should bring, then you need to be adjusting the price. You can't just stick out there. But when you're looking and you've got, let's say, 15 listings competing with yours and nobody's selling, the entire market isn't moving, well, we can try some price drops, but we also have to demonstrate to our clients that the market isn't moving as a whole. But I'm a big fan of buying down their interest rate, especially with the rates there are now. This is where your lender helps you. So to me, right, let's be clear, it's not about price, it's about payment. It's also about price. But buyers are super price sensitive. So quite frankly, I'm just going to use 800,000. Do you really think the buyer getting the house for 780 versus 800 or getting a $20,000 buy down, which could buy down their payment? I'm going to make up a number of lenders. You'll be like, she's wrong, but let's not quote it. I'm just a realtor. And that saves them, let's say it's $800 a month. What's better? What's better? But I'm going to do a price slash, I'm going to do a price slash, I'm going to do a price slash. Now, again, don't hear me wrong. If you're improperly priced, do that. But instead of stair-stepping the price down, let's talk about how we can help them with their payment. That does make them more competitive, right? That does make it so it's more affordable. It is absolutely a marketing strategy that sets you apart from most of the realtors. I don't see almost anybody doing it. And then you can advertise the difference in the payment buying your home versus somebody else's. So I think if you're not looking at potential buy downs, I prefer a permanent one in the price point that it makes sense. A 2-1's great, but I need you to meet with your lender. I need you to figure out these strategies that when you sit with someone and say, hey, here's some thoughts. If no one's moving at all, you might just offer it right at the beginning, right? Like, hey, we're going to price it here and we're going to offer this incentive. I will tell you, I talked to Bradley about this when the market shifted last time dramatically in like 2008. We'd carry 40, listings at a time. And we started also coming up with menus of things that house needed. So if the house had an issue, a menu that we would address prior to closing, right? Because it's off. Yes, it's price, it's affordability. But if there's also a clear issue in a house, right, that, every buyer says they want X, then you can try to offer that as an incentive to be taken care of prior to closing. So you guys got to get creative. It can't always just be a price drop unless you know that you are way out of line with the current market. Okay, Rebecca. So lots of math. Basically, this is just a demonstration of some different buy downs that you can have run that you can actually show your client. But flip side, right, that we could also show a buyer, right? Because let's flip this. If I'm working with a client, do I tell that client just to offer 10,000 less? I'm just picking a number. Or should I not have this information that's in front of you that says, hey, if we do this cost, if we ask for 10 grand, right? Or if we ask for this, now most people won't necessarily pay 30,000, but this is a $750,000 house. Let's look at all of our different alternatives. Number one, of course, let's look at what we can ask for based on concessions. But you've got to have, this is what we do, right? We're supposed to create the best scenario for our sellers to sell and our buyers to buy. So if you team up with your lender and say, hey, I'm going to work with these clients, can you show me some different buy down or permanent buy down options that we can talk about that instead of just offering less, right? Let's see if we can save some money on the monthly payments. It's just another strategy, but I don't think most people are doing it. And then again, in the back crap crazy market where you couldn't ask for anything, you couldn't even get an inspection, right? Like the people might not even move their stuff out of their house. You couldn't do that. But as we're really shifting this way, let's show value to these people and help them more. So this is an example, again, lots of math, but team up with your lender and see what they can do to help you come up with some strategies like this. Okay, Miss Rebecca. All right. So there's also a lot of people who say, dang, I should have sold last year. And you can't go, yeah, too bad, so sad. Damn right. You can't, right? Like, me too. But that's not what the message is going to say. But we want to talk to them about they're nervous about the market. Okay. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. There's a lot of noise out there right now. Let's be clear. And so, yes, we need to give proper messaging. So you're not going to be like, it's a great time for everyone to sell, everybody buy, right? Like I hate those messages anyway, but you certainly don't want to be out there because I hear it like realtors will laugh, but I have realtors who are like, I don't know anyone would sell. I don't know why you would sell a house right now. Why would you even think about buying a house right now? I'm like, ooh, that's great. That's perfect. Let's not do that either. But yes, the market has changed. Buyers are more cautious, right? And they are price sensitive, they're payment sensitive. Your condition matters more than ever. The marketing actually matters. It does matter now, right? So we've got to be strategic and understand what the current market's doing. Let's not give them a number they're not going to get. Let's be honest with them. We can all cry for a moment about what was, right? Their neighbor's house that sold for, XYZ. Cool. Here's where we are now. That's our job, right? So there's that. Of course, there's the people that are like, I'm going to get 15 offers. Okay. So let's talk about the market's changed rapidly, right? We would have this many buyers competing in your price point. Now we have this many. This is what you should expect. We're in a normalizing market. Yay, don't say that unless you know what that means. But right, like this is what you need to do now to get your home sold and then show them the data. This is the homes that are the market. Here's how they compare to yours. I'm a big fan of going through that with them. And then if it is time to price drop, if you have to honestly do a price drop, we need to really start re-engaging buyers. We have to explain these things. So we have to have clear messaging. And I think that's the thing we're all pretty guilty of is not having super clear. We're big on, oh, it's a great time to buy or it's a great time to sell or interest rates are X%. Okay. But like really what's happening today? Right? How can I help you today? What's the strategy I've got to work on right now? And then for some people that haven't sold, we've got to go back and say, hey, this is where it is now, right? Like we can't hide, right? This is the time that we've got to be out there and be very visible and very clear on the current market. Okay, Rebecca. Okay. So I think the biggest shift, especially if you came in the market most recently, like I have a lot of people that came into the market in the last 3-4 years, whatever, how long it's been hot. And it was a quick push, right? You took a listing. Quite frankly, sometimes the flyer didn't even get printed if you did a professional flyer. You'd have multiple offers. It was more of a turn, right? You got a listing, it's sold. You got a listing, it's sold. So now you got to be thinking longer term. You have to come up with your plan from the beginning of how you're going to approach this with a shifting market. And I think too many people have not had to make this plan. So let's look at some samples. Again, you can all do things differently, but Rebecca, if we go to the next one, you've got to go into things with, I think, an urgency launch. So we have our listing launch plan. It's literally called a listing launch marketing plan that we explain to all of our clients. But we need to explain to them, this is what we're going to do in your coming soon time. Now, again, all different MLSs, what you can do, how long coming soon is, are you doing off marketing? Okay, so you're all a little different there, but we've got this short period of time. We've always had a shorter period of time. Now it's a short period of time that we got to launch, hence why it's so important to price properly. But we've got to explain to them before it goes on the market in the coming soon period to listing, what are we doing to get it out on social media? What are we doing to get it out to our database? What are we doing in terms of, are we going to already launch with, helping them buy down their rate? So we got to have a plan that we demonstrate to them. I like a 90-day plan that shows, hey, this is what we're going to do before it goes on the market. This is day one. We're going to have the photography, our drone, our floor plan, write special feature sheets. We're going to put you on all the websites. We're going to have another social media post. We'll have your website launched of your property, whatever it is you may do. Different companies, different thing. And then here in the next days, this is what we're going to do for those 10 days specifically to really get you out to everyone. So some people didn't even have that, but then it was like, then it became the dirty middle. Now it's like, it's day 30. So for me, we like to go in and already tell you about, all right, and if it hasn't sold, here's our next plan, right? So if you go to the next slide, it shows you what you're going to expect from us if the house haven't sold, right? So let's say we agreed when we took the listing, especially if you took a different price, that 14 days in, right? What are we going to do? If the house hasn't sold in 14 days, so CMA with market update, whatever it is you guys have decided, your price adjustment based on your listing agreement. We can, obviously, we all know we can play with different things. Now we could add our buy down if we don't want to adjust the price. We can do tweaks in the MLS to make things appear differently, right? We can put them back out on social media, right? But then it's like, okay, we've got to be super clear what happens when the seller's house hasn't sold, right? Every showing is massive. If they get one, they're going to be all over you for feedback. So you've got to be super aggressive before it'd be like, oh yeah, they don't always give us feedback. Now you got to go hunt that feedback down. And I don't know if you guys don't do this. I think most people didn't because the market happened so fast, but we put our seller on an auto search just like we put our buyers. So every house that we list goes on an auto search. So they immediately, when a house comes on the market or a price reduction happens, they will get an email ping. Not that I wouldn't call them. I want them to see it, not just from me. I want them to see the photos. I want them to go, damn, the not as nice house as theirs, right? That's priced lower than them, that theirs is way better, is now pending. So you really use the market to show you. We do the 14 days and then we do an every 30-day sit down. If the house is still there, we will say, we're going to sit down with you. We will not do that via email. And we're going to go over everything, where they're marketed, what their price is, what the market's doing, even though we're still doing our check-ins and weekly check-ins, because we have to show them we have a plan as the market's shifting. You can't appear 45 days in and be like, well, this sucks. What should we do? You know what I mean? I have to be ahead of it. And if I can say, hey, so I can see Frank. Hi, Frank. So if I say, hey, Frank, I'm listing your home, this is our 90-day plan. Now, understand, obviously, we want it to sell in 3 days, 5 days, 14 days. The market will dictate that and our plan moving forward. This is a 90-day plan, knowing, just so you know, that average days on market today are it's 57 days. It's slowed down. So we're going to show you what our plan is going to be if the home hasn't sold yet. So again, you guys didn't have to do that. Now you kind of have to start thinking about it. Now, if you're still in a 20-day market, maybe you're doing a 60-day plan. But if you're not trying to demonstrate what you're going to do as time clicks by, they think you're doing nothing. It's your fault. And they're going to go talk to somebody else, right? Because they're not getting the data from you. Okay. Thank you, Rebecca. Oh, yay. Okay. So I also thought, all right, there's all of this messaging and everything else, but I'm also seeing a lot of people not really doing anything. So it's funny to me that it's like All of a sudden, June in our area comes. Let's just be clear, like everybody's gone. So we did a mastermind. We invited a bunch of people, at least 75 people, like, yeah, we're just gardening or I'm out of town, which is cool. Vacation's good, but it's summer and it's slower and the market's changing. And I'm seeing a lot of people going, meh, it market picks back up in August, I'll re-engage as if it were like October and everyone disappears like like they hibernate like bears, right? It's like the realtor bears. Oh, it's October, I'll reappear in February. That doesn't work. So let's talk about some things that we should be doing now or can be doing now, right? To continue momentum or build it for the fall. Thank you, Rebecca. Okay. So for those of you who are like little turtles in your shells, and not talking to people, and there's a lot of you because I get your forms, you got to double down on conversations. So we're calling through our database again on purpose with some different content, and we're having some events at our office, but you stop talking to people. Now, you might be in a pool, you might be at the beach, you might, right, talk to the same three people over and over, but you're not talking to people. So, calling your sphere, reconnecting with any leads that did not do anything earlier, right? Like going back to those lead trackers and saying, hey, they mentioned that they would buy next year when the market's different. So all those I didn't buy buyers because of frenzy, you should be talking to them right now, right? The market's shifting. We can get home inspections again. We can likely get you a buy down. Let's talk about purchasing. The people who had to sell a house first, but no one would take a contingent offer. Now, not everyone's taking them here now, but more people are, right? So if it's your leads and you haven't talked to them, are you still thinking about a move this year? Let's talk about why this might be a really good time to get back out in the market, right? Oh, you're not. What's something that would need to happen? Like whether it's in your life or in the market for you to decide that now is a good time. Just so I understand. Now, by the way, a lot of people it may not be time, but I want to understand when it would be time, right? So what is it that's going to take them to trip them into the market? Not trip, right? I'm not tricking anybody, but what would enter how it caused them to enter the market? So if we're not out reconnecting, connecting, seeing people, making phone calls, inviting them, right, having coffees and lunches, that's a mistake. We've got to be connecting with them right now. Okay, Rebecca. Okay. This is the biggest one that came out of the mastermind. So there were a bunch of realtors here, and the urgency of the clients. I'm taking people and I'm showing them houses every day, but they don't seem to be urgent. They don't really seem like they want to buy. Oh, girlfriend. I've talked to people and maybe they'll sell. There's just no urgency, right? So it's like, okay, so if you're going to be taking a buyer out, you better be asking, like, when do you need to be in something? What is it causing you to move right now? What if the interest rates don't go down? What if, right? I mean, we've got to be talking to them about the expectations and their motivations. Because I'll tell you, the people that have under 3%, and don't have a divorce, let's say divorce diamonds, right? Whatever. Um, those people have to move, but the not have to movers are very unmotivated, and they're going to unmotivate to themselves to sit in a house way longer than they should have because of a 3% interest rate. And now all of a sudden the market's still changing, right? And things are still getting more expensive, but they're going to wait for that. So you have to understand what the motivation is and what's that tipping point that will get them to make a move, right? A lot of times it's just a misunderstanding of the market. So that is something we need to be clear on. So if you guys aren't checking with leads, you need to be doing and getting their clear motivation. They need to move by when, right? Or what? Because they could rent again, but rents here are really expensive. So let's get that figured out. Okay. Thank you, Rebecca. All right. Now, I know like Brad is the king of this, so he should probably teach this, but I think we don't also think about the inventory we have creating more inventory. So the listings you have now, again, the one, if you're like, hey, it's sat for 120 days, anyone else want to sit for 120 days? That's not the message I'm talking about. But the message I'm talking about is, okay, so I have this listing. What are things that I can do? Clearly social media, but most of us don't do a great job with that. Telling the story of the listing, telling the story of so think about it's not just the family that's there or how many bedrooms it has, but what does 600,000 get you in Charlottesville, Virginia, or well, maybe where Brad is nothing, but like in your area, you have this listing that's this price point. What does that get in your area, right? And what are things people should know about? What buyers could be attracted to it? Obviously, open houses, we know about that. Inviting all the neighbors to the open houses, all these things I want you to think about. Like, you could email listings to your database and your VIPs and say, hey, anyone, do you know anyone who's thinking of moving who could use this great house in this community? Or I just think we don't think about, and then reverse prospect. Oh, I missed a knee. Reverse. There's supposed to be an E. Reverse prospecting, right? Do you guys use that feature in your MLS? Do you have reverse prospecting? Do you know what that is? I can't see y'all. So reverse prospecting is, we have a thing in our MLS that if I list a house and someone has an auto search set up, hold on, I'm gonna turn this on. If someone has an auto search set up that has the criteria that matches that house, it will email that agent and say, I see that you have a client that may be looking for a home like this. Just wanted to let you know in advance, we're going to do a buy down or whatever your next step may be, but you can reverse prospect. You can also reverse prospect. Oh, yes, we have reverse prospecting. We used it for slow moving listing, great for conversations. You can also be calling those listings. And by the way, for you guys who have listings not moving, I would also be calling the sellers of the other listings not moving, because what does the seller of your listing think? It's just their house. It's Renee's not doing her job. Darren is not doing his job. So if I can call my client and say, listen, you know, the 8 listings that have been on the market as long as you, I just talked to 6 of the agents, 2 of them didn't pick up. I talked to 6 agents for a little while. You know, they haven't had a showing for 3 weeks. None of them. Right? So what that's showing us is the lull in this market. So here's what we can do. We can be patient, right? And wait a couple more weeks as we talked about, or we can get aggressive. And if we're going to get aggressive, this is what I recommend. So I need you guys to think past all of these things, because the more that you're out there showing your clients you're doing everything you can, the less shot they're going to leave you, right? When the listing agreement's starting to expire because it was your fault. Okay, Rebecca. Okay. Re-educating clients. Gently but firmly. So it is time right now that there are some sellers that, frankly, you might not be able to get their home sold. They may not move. They may not listen to you. So I think if you're not really sitting with your clients, and I would argue not only your clients, but I know I have a bunch of listings. They never list in July. They want to wait till August. We met a couple months ago. We staged their houses. Some of them we've already taken photos. Well, guess what? It's not quite the market it was then. So I'm having to re-educate them on what to expect now going into August. We should probably be a little more aggressive, meaning not be as list as high, right? Or yeah, we thought maybe we didn't need to paint. I'm making this up. My clients did it, but you've got to be thinking about how that has happened before you get on the market and really have honest conversation with your current clients on the market now. Right. So you got to re-educate them. And really, it's here's what's happened in the last 2 weeks. Don't just call them and tell them, show them. Send them the listings that are sitting. Send them the days on market. Send them the winners. The winners are anyone that sold in the last couple weeks. And so they can see, right, what is it that we need to do because that house went under contract, right? So I want you to start thinking about repositioning earlier, right? Not waiting as long and then giving them information. Okay, Rebecca. All right. So I do think as well, a lot of people are not hosting or attending as many events, right? I will say, I think there's still a humongous COVID hangover. It's been a long time, but I'm meeting with a lot of my business partners and they're saying the same thing. So we have a financial advisor literally right next door that we're doing some events with. And he said, yeah, most of his clients are still on Zoom. He's not really able to get a lot of them in the office. And there's so few events of like-minded professionals going on right now, as well as we had a big open house. We opened our office here and a lot of people were super excited to get out and are super excited for upcoming events. So we're having several upcoming events. We are doing a decorating one. That was by far of everyone that attended that we asked them. So we asked every person that came, what would you like to learn more about? What would you like to come in and do? And decorating tips, updating the house tips was by far number one in all age groups. So we're going to have a decorating tips. We have a decorator coming in and they will bring in a photo or information about the room. The decorator can share, and then we can also feed it into AI and see what AI says it would do in terms of updating the space just for fun. We have a financial mastermind starting for women in investing as well as teenagers. So the kids of clients of ours, because like my kids too, that are like, wow, that's expensive. They get their first check and they're like, wow, taxes suck. Yes, they do. So we're really working on helping them with budgeting and everything as they're starting their lives. And then we've done a lot of charities. We did a nurses' night, we did a teachers' night, we're doing a night with the police. So we're really getting out and getting involved in the community. So you guys really need to think about what VIP events, what lender, team up with your lender for sure, right? Ask a lender feature, team up with different vendors, team up with different charities, but you got to be super visible. I think there's never been a more important time, especially as I think a lot of other people are pulling back, right? Like it's getting harder. And I'm not saying go spend bunches of money. Let's make this leverage this. But I think so many people are getting less visible, maybe super visible on social media and not even so, but more visible on social media, but not in person. So I need you to think about what are some things that you need to do to get out there, get in front of more people. And that certainly is something we've been working on and are going hard for the rest of the year as well. Okay. Thank you, Rebecca. Yes, our buyer and seller consults, as well as services offered. So I want you to think about, like, I'll use Bradley, but not that he's shifting anything. But so there are a lot of people that, I know Brad's, and I think he's still doing it, had offered the entire time your home is on the market, we're going to have an open house every Sunday. So this is just an example in terms of, well, if the days on the market drag on, is that something that we're going to modify? And I'm not saying we will, but I need you all to think about, okay, homes are not selling as quickly. So if you stopped doing things, like you're not doing flyers anymore because they sold so quickly, right, that you didn't need one, I need you to do that. I need you to think about marketing techniques, actual marketing, right? Like, I don't know if you guys really pay attention to, like, but in your listings, what do buyers want? Right? Like, so I want you to think about special feature sheets. I need you to actually have a dang floor plan. For you guys, it costs like $45 to $100 to have a floor plan drawn, and 8% of listings have a floor plan. Come on. So, a floor plan, special feature sheets, they actually want to see the picture of the inside of the garage. We've got to be paying attention to things that the buyers are saying they want. So, I need you to think about, are your scripts the same as they were before? Have you amended to a 90-day plan? Have you added services back into sellers that make sure they understand that their house has to be staged, right? That we have to have the house ready? How are we helping them? So I want you to really pay attention to what your consults are looking like, how you've amended them, and what is your strategy changing through a different market, right? You have to be a lot more hands-on. And I think the more proactive you can be, the better. And that is what I have for you today. I think the last slide's maybe just a picture. Oh yeah, so get ahead of the shift. But I did want to see what questions you guys had, because everyone here is from different parts of the country, right? And you're experiencing different parts of the shifts. Some of you have shifted more. A lot of people are struggling. Like I said, if our local people already have inventory pockets of problems, they have picky buyers, pricing problems, they don't understand what's really happening in the market. The complaint is no buyers want to do any work in homes. Like, what are things that you guys could use help with as this market's shifting? So I want to make sure we're answering your questions as well, for what's happening right now. So anyone brave? Nobody's
Marjorie, I'm going
shy.
to unmute it so one of my agents can ask you a question. Can you hear me?
Sure, I can hear you.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Hey Marjorie, do you have a favorite floor plan drafting program that you like to use for your listings?
So I'll tell you, a lot of people will use Matterport and the Matterport tours. Our photographer, so you should ask all of your photographers. Every photographer here, when they're shooting the house, has a floor plan program that they measure the rooms and draw out a floor plan. One charges like $50, one charges $100, and it's a drawn out, it's a 2D, right? Not a 3D, but it's basically, it's got the dimensions of the rooms and the siting of the rooms. So most of your photographers should have that. There are also some programs that you can put on your phone. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to go in there and shoot rooms because you can do them through AI programs where you can just shoot the room, it'll draw a plan. That's not something I'm doing. But I think that if you really, it's true, like 8% of listings have a floor plan. And I want you to think about, what do the buyers want to know, right? Like they go to a house and they're like, well, that room is way smaller than I thought. Or if I had known this room were here, I would never have seen this house. So let's do that as part of our process.
It depends on the photographer they use. A lot of people won't add it on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Again, they added on, but even here, so here we do, so our photographers probably, well, I don't know if they're on this, that's the side, but I get all photos, a drone video, a walkthrough video, and a floor plan. And sometimes I'll do an extra video and it costs me $700. So here's the point. We're marketing someone's home. Like my average commission is 16 grand. So it can't be that much, even if it is $100, if it's the number one thing that a buyer asks for or something that you demonstrate that differentiates you. Because you can't, right? It's not your negotiation, right? We're all like, it's my negotiation. No. What is it that you're demonstrating of value? What do buyers want to see? They want to know the ages of the systems. They want to know improvements that have been made. And they do not care that they replace 3 light fixtures and a switch plate, right? Like, let's give them the data that helps them make a decision.
100%.
Yay.
Hey,
So let's see.
Marjorie,
Yeah.
this is Lenore over here. I'm here with a couple of agents, and we asked, how do you advertise the buy downs when you're marketing your property?
So I would definitely put the buy down flyer in the photos. So like we can put sheets as a picture, but I think in the first lines of the listing, you can also say, right, like, so, you buy this home, the payment is $800 less than comparable homes, ask for details or whatever, however you want to do that. But that to me, again, instead of a price reduction, sets you apart. But between your lender and what we're allowed to say, I would put it right in the comments, and I'd have a flyer that literally, as I click through, maybe it's photo 3 or 4, is the information on the buy down. I don't need every single, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need 19 columns of numbers, but I'd want to explain, hey, house A with no buy down, if it's 20% down, basics, this is their payment. But with the seller offered buy down, this is the payment, to show them the value of buying that house. Does that make sense?
Hi, Marjorie. This is Sonia Mayello in California, Silicon Valley. We're having issues like the rest of you guys are, but what I have found is that it's the condo and townhouse market that has really, really, really shifted. And we have like the largest inventory that we've had in about a decade. And they're difficult to sell and they're difficult to get buyers into. A lot of them are on the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac do not lend list,
Yeah.
due to, issues with insurance or deferred maintenance. And I would love, because they're great buys right now. I would love to get, buyers into these properties, or I would love to sell these properties. I have 2 listings right now that I haven't that we haven't gone active because things are just not moving. Do you have any guidance on that?
So I think the condo's hard because once you can't finance that, I mean, obviously that's a big deal because at least in most areas here, for example, people think of a condo as an alternative for cost, right? Oh, that should be less expensive. Well, if you can't finance them, that's number one problem. But a lot of them have astronomically high fees, right? The extra condo fee means the payment's up. So our townhouses and condos are pretty different. But the hard part is with the deferred maintenance. Is that like additional special assessments that are going to make it cost even more?
That, or, because of that, I don't know if SB 326 is just a California thing or if it's nationwide, but have you guys ever heard of SB 326?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it may just be unique to California, but every HOA has to do this inspection. It's called SB 326 by law. And if they don't pass, then they get on the do not lend list with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And And until they get that rectified, until it gets corrected, then they get off the list. But if they're not, if they're on the list, they're impossible to get lending on. And I've been trying to figure out ways to get creative on how to make that happen, but I haven't been successful.
Yeah, because the lending, I mean, obviously, if I can't get a loan, I know here some of the condos or and townhomes, if they have higher fees, the sellers are offering to pay a year of the condo fees or the HOA fees. The problem is if I can't get a loan to start with, then that's problem number one, right? So, like,
Mm.
other than identifying some sort of portfolio or alternative financing, I don't know if there are any more private lenders that would entertain that. That's certainly something that I think I would try to do.
Thank you. I've tried that. They're just, much higher
Yeah.
interest rates. So,
Yeah,
but
there's
it's
got something's got to give, right? Because if the traditional
yeah,
lenders do it, someone else isn't going to be like, "Let me give you a gift." Uh,
yes.
Potentially investors if they're rentable, but they want a deal, right? So
Yeah,
that's when Fannie and Freddie sort of shut you off, it makes it really hard to get super
yes.
creative on that.
Okay. Well, thank you. Your presentation was excellent. Thank you so much.
Hi.
John,
This
John
is,
has a question. I
yeah,
see a
I'm raising my hand, but I'm a little
yeah,
out.
you go.
Okay, so San Francisco Bay Area, Sonia, I see some few colleagues here in the San Francisco Bay Area, but just a thought around the condo piece, Sonia, is that's where you should speak to Adam, who I see here as well, about like offering non-QM. Like you got to go the non-QM because it's not just the property, it's the HOA, right? So if
Yeah.
you have your non-QM loan products ready to go, and for our clients who are selling condos, like our marketing strategy includes a buy down. It just includes a buy down. And if they're realistic, they realize that's what they have to do. So we go into it saying, here's how we're going to market your product, right? Given a condo or townhomes, and in the Bay Area, it's not just San Jose, it's all the way up through San Francisco and what have you, Marin County. I appreciate the dialogues, so thank you, Marjorie, on that one. And just one other thing on marketing assets. Like, so we do same thing. Like our standard is pictures, drone, Matterport floor plans. That's just what we do across the board. And so we don't have to search out who's going to do what. We have identified who's going to do it. And because it's not just marketing their product, we all get paid pretty darn good money to market their product. But also we can use those marketing assets when we go to our next listing presentation, saying this is our standard, right? It's not, your $500,000 home is not going to get any less than a $1.5 million home. That's just our standard. And again, and it gives us more assets. The one thing I would say is like that I'm focused on, and Adam knows this, is I'm just reaching out to my database with dialogues. So I created like 12 different scenarios of dialogues from here's my dialogue if I get them on the phone, but then I use ChatGPT and said, okay, well, based on this, if I don't get them, then what's the voicemail message I leave them that compels them to call me back? And also create a text that I can text them right after I leave them a voicemail that's based on that voicemail message I left them and compel them to call me back. So that's all your dialogues. I screenshotted those. Like I just need reasons, all the reasons for me to call my database. That I can control, and that's all I'm focused on, what I can control. So thank
So
you.
I will tell you the funny thing is, and this is so simple, but it makes me laugh. So a lot of times it's like people don't call back, right? That's the big thing. And honestly, it's our outreach that matters most because if we are in relationship with them, they'll reach back out to us. But now I video text. So if I call and leave, I don't leave voicemails anymore. I send a video text. And the funniest thing is this is not new technology, right? Like I am not that technologically advanced, but every single one of them, not joking, is like, oh my God, a video text. That's so nice. How are you? And I'm like, it's a video text. So just a little point, if you're going to call someone and don't get them, if you just go on your phone and you hit video and you say, hey, I just want to catch up, da, 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 and you send them a text, they're all like, it's as if, I just invented AI. Honestly, it's like, God, that's so creative. It's simple, but it's different. So I would try that. A video
Yeah,
text with,
I appreciate that. I actually sent a video text to one of my referral partners. He hadn't been calling me back, and I sent him a video text, and then he responded back within 30 minutes, video text with him and his daughter on vacation.
there you go.
And say,
Okay,
hey,
guys, what do you
Shiloh,
guys mean by video text?
like take a
Literally, so
video and
you
text it
go
to
in
him.
your phone and you go as if like, so if I were going to text someone, right? So right now I got Bradley and Jacek on here. Okay. So if I go in here as if I were going to send a message and I hit plus and I can just go to my camera and I can switch on to video and I can say, Hey dudes, it's Marjorie. I can see you in my call. I'll talk to you later. Okay, so I would say something different than that, right? And then I hit send, and now they got a video text.
Cool. I'll try that. Thank you.
But I mean, it's people now. These guys might not respond to it because they're sitting here watching me. Actually, you should because you love me. But it's just a little something different. Like we invited a ton of people to our masterminds and everything and events, and I've been doing video text. And these are realtors now that are like, "That's so clever," and I'm like, "Okay, all right, I made you answer." I mean, it's tough to do. So just think about how can we just stand out a little bit, right? And they can see us. Because I don't know why it's almost like they're seeing you in person that they're like, oh, I should respond versus, I don't have to. Small thing, but just an idea. All right, kids, what else?
Guys, we got just a couple more minutes for questions, so hit her with the doozy, and let's see if there's a curveball we can get.
Oh, let's do it.
Hi, Jen.
oh.
Sorry, I'll be really quick. I know that there's a lot of questions about how to get sellers to move and seller activity and getting sales that way. But I work with a lot of buyers and the lack of urgency is really challenging. And a lot of my messaging kind of revolves around this is the only time in my career I've said that you're able to kind of get a deal and you have opportunity there. But even that isn't necessarily getting them off of the fence. So, how else can I kind of frame it to get buyers into the game?
So, do you do a full consult with them and find out at that point, like they're in the market now? Why? What do they need? So, like three whys, right? But why are they looking? What's most important to them? What if they found, what if what would make them move, right? Like if they found what, because obviously if they're like a house for $2, that's not going to happen. But to me, it's like, what's that core motivation, right? You're going to have a baby. Usually, hopefully there's a life change, right? Because 9 months from now, a human's popping at you. So let's get you in something before that happens or whatever maybe, or a job change. I think it's the
Yeah.
looking clues that are really hard to nail down.
Yeah, and maybe even having every 3 months, same or every month with just listings to have kind of a sit down and readjust expectations because I've had a client that we found a property that was amazing and there was only one other offer because it was priced really well. So it took all of your advice at the beginning and my clients wouldn't even go up $10,000 to get the perfect house for them because they were like, oh, well, another one will come around.
Yep, another one will come, especially now, right? And it's like, okay, but I mean, again, I think it's either everyone wants a unicorn. But I think it's the communication, it's the, you know what, right now we might be able to get you a better payment. Right now we might be able to, get more on an inspection or whatever it is. But I think if they don't have a really clear life need, then it's really hard, right? If there's not a deadline, like they're homeless from a rent, they have to rent or buy by here, they have to move by here, they have a child here, they got to be in Texas here. It's really hard to get them pinned down on a must do. So yeah, I mean, again, that's the biggest thing that's happening now, right? Is people are also canceling because they're like, there might be a better one, right? And you're like, you got to be kidding me. So that lack of urgency, but I think sitting down at the beginning and you being really clear, they have to be here in a certain point or they got all this time in the world, and then how you're going to handle that, for them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I want to respect Marjorie's time. I know there's a couple other questions, but please remember the easiest way to see Marjorie in the next couple months, and I hope I'm saying these dates right, is we will be in Phoenix for the 10X Summit, and I believe it's October 27th and 28th. I know it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, so I did it correctly. All of your loan officers absolutely can get you information out. It is realtor and lender based. Marjorie will be teaching. Bradley Hanson will be teaching. Another incredible realtor sources will be there. Please make sure you attend that. You will have 48 hours to hang out with these amazing coaches and learn a ton. Marjorie, any last words before I let you get out of here? We can't thank you enough for being here with us.
Oh, thank you. So Andrea asked, what advice would you give to a new realtor, right, on how to convince new clients to work with you? Let's reach out to me. We can go through some strategies for that. So make sure that Andrea can reach out and we can connect. But we can come up with some things that are each of you guys, right? What's your uniques? So kind of what is it that you have to offer them, your expertise or your specialties that I know you're new, but that we can work on. So we can reach out.
So guys, our next mastermind will be the third Thursday of every month. So we'll be here the third Thursday of August. And we want to thank you so much for attending with us today.
Thanks, guys, for being here.
Thank you, Marjorie.
Okay.